Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow breath in and let it out. Right now, in this very moment, before the world rushes back in, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you were truly still? Not just physically still. Not just sitting down between tasks or lying in bed scrolling before sleep. I mean genuinely deeply, soul-level still. When was the last time you stopped trying to figure everything out? Stopped planning, stopped worrying, stopped rehearsing conversations in your head, and simply listened? For most of us, that kind of stillness feels like a luxury we can't afford. There's too much to do, too many people depending on us, too many problems that need solving, too many questions that haven't been answered yet. And so we keep moving. We keep filling the silence with noise. Because honestly, sometimes the silence feels more uncomfortable than the chaos. But here's what I've come to understand, and what I believe with my whole heart. God speaks in the stillness, not always in the dramatic moments, not always through the earthquake or the fire or the rushing wind. Sometimes, often, even. His voice comes in the gentle whisper, the quiet nudge, the soft impression that settles over your spirit like morning light through a window. And if we're always moving, always loud, always busy, we will miss it. So today, for the next little while, I want to invite you into something. I want to invite you to slow down, to breathe, to open your heart, and to really truly listen, not just with your ears, but with everything you are. This is a space for you. There's nothing you need to perform here, nothing you need to prove. You can set down whatever you've been carrying, just for right now, and simply be present. Are you with me? Good. Let's begin. Part 1. The noise we live in. We live in the loudest era in human history. Think about that for a moment. At any given second of any given day, there is a notification waiting for your attention somewhere. A news cycle that never stops. A social media feed that is literally designed by algorithms to keep you engaged, to keep you reacting, to keep you emotionally stimulated just enough that you never fully disengage. We have more access to more information than any generation before us. And yet somehow, many of us feel more confused, more anxious, and more disconnected than ever. Because information is not the same as wisdom, and noise is not the same as knowing. There is a difference between being informed and being transformed. And transformation, the kind that actually changes how you see yourself and the world and your purpose in it, that doesn't come from consuming more. It comes from going deep, from going still. I want you to think about your own life for a moment. Where does the noise live for you? Maybe it's the constant hum of your own thoughts, the mental to-do list that never fully switches off, even when you're trying to rest. Maybe it's the noise of other people's opinions and expectations, the pressure to be more, do more, earn more, become more. Maybe it's the noise of your own fears, the what-ifs and the not-enoughs and the what will people think. That noise is real, and it is heavy, and it is exhausting. But here's what I want you to understand, that noise is also a choice, not always an easy choice to reject, but a choice nonetheless. Every single day, we get to decide what we let in. We get to decide what gets our attention. And we get to decide whether we will create space, genuine space, for something deeper to speak. Because God is not competing with Netflix. He is not competing with your inbox. He is not raising his voice to be heard over the chaos. He is simply present, quietly, consistently, patiently. He is there in the pause between thoughts, in the breath before the decision, in the space between what was and what is coming. And he is waiting, not impatiently, not anxiously, but with the kind of steady, unwavering presence that doesn't need to rush. The question is not whether he is speaking. The question is whether we are positioned to hear. Part 2. What stillness actually is. I think we sometimes misunderstand what it means to be still. We think stillness is passive. We think it means doing nothing, checking out, becoming a blank slate with no thoughts and no feelings and no movement. And because that version of stillness feels impossible or even irresponsible, we never attempt it at all. But real stillness, the kind that opens us up to the voice of God, is not passive. It is one of the most intentional, active things a human being can do. Stillness is a posture of the heart. It is the decision to stop striving and start receiving. It is the choice to loosen your grip on control, even just for a few minutes. And trust that the one who holds everything together does not need your help holding it. Stillness is surrendering the urgency. That is harder than it sounds, because urgency is comfortable. Urgency gives us the feeling of being necessary. When we're busy, we feel important. When we're solving problems and answering messages and handling things, we feel productive, valuable, needed. Stillness, on the other hand. Stillness asks us to simply be. Not to do, not to perform, not to produce, just to be. And in that being, something begins to shift. When you get quiet, really quiet, you start to hear what's underneath all the noise. You start to notice the things your busyness has been helping you avoid, the grief you haven't fully felt, the joy you haven't let yourself receive, the question you've been afraid to ask, the truth you already know but haven't yet been willing to act on. Stillness is not just a spiritual practice, it is an act of courage, because it takes courage to sit with yourself. It takes courage to stop running from the discomfort and turn toward it instead. It takes courage to admit that you don't have all the answers, that you need something greater than your own intellect and willpower and hustle to navigate this life well. That kind of humility, that willingness to be still and acknowledge your need, that is the doorway through which the voice of God enters. Take a breath with me right now. In through your nose, hold it for just a second, and release slowly through your mouth. Feel your shoulders drop, feel the tension in your jaw soften, let your hands relax in your lap. You don't have to hold it all right now. You don't have to figure it out in this moment. You are safe to simply be here. Part 3. How God Speaks in the Quiet. So what does it actually sound like when God speaks in the stillness? This is a question worth sitting with, because I think many of us have been waiting for something we might be describing wrong. We wait for the booming voice, the undeniable sign, the burning bush moment. And because those moments are rare, because most of us haven't had a dramatic, cinematic encounter that left zero room for doubt, we conclude that God must not be speaking to us, that maybe he speaks to other people. More spiritual people, more deserving people, more chosen people, but not to us. That is a lie, and I want you to hear that clearly. God speaks to ordinary people living ordinary days. He speaks in the middle of the mundane. He speaks in the quiet moments that don't look like anything special from the outside. And his voice, more often than not, sounds less like thunder and more like a thought that suddenly feels different, a knowing that settles deep, a peace that doesn't entirely make sense given your circumstances, a pull in a direction you hadn't considered, a release of something you'd been holding onto too tightly. His voice sounds like clarity in the middle of confusion, like warmth when you expected coldness, like enough when everything around you is screaming not enough. Sometimes God speaks through the thing that catches your attention again and again, the idea that keeps returning no matter how many times you dismiss it. Sometimes He speaks through the tears that come out of nowhere when you finally get quiet enough to feel what you've been pushing down. Sometimes He speaks through the sudden, unexpected sense of peace that washes over you in a moment when you had every reason to be afraid. And sometimes He speaks through the silence itself. The absence of an answer can be an answer. The wait can be instruction. The not yet can be the most merciful thing He could offer you. Because He can see what you can't, and He knows that what you're asking for right now would cost you more than it gives. His silence is not abandonment. It is protection. It is preparation. It is love operating with a longer timeline than your urgency. So if you've been in a season where the heavens felt quiet, I want to offer you this thought. Maybe the silence isn't empty. Maybe it's full of something being prepared, full of something being cleared away, full of an invitation to trust in the dark what you've believed in the light. Part 4. The things that block the voice. If God is always speaking, and I believe He is, then why is it so hard to hear? There are a few things I've noticed, both in my own life and in the lives of people I've walked alongside, that have a way of muffling the voice of God, not silencing it, but creating enough static that we struggle to tune in. The first is unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is like static on the line. When we're holding on to offense, bitterness, resentment, when we're rehearsing the wrong that was done to us and feeding the pain with our attention, there is very little space for anything else to get through. Not because God stops trying to reach us, but because our interior world is so cluttered with the weight of what we won't release that we simply can't receive clearly. Forgiveness is not excusing what happened. It's not pretending it was okay. It's not opening yourself back up to harm. Forgiveness is releasing the debt. It is choosing to stop letting someone else's worst moment have ongoing power over your peace. And when you do that, when you truly let it go, something opens up. The static clears. The channel becomes clean. The second thing that blocks the voice is fear. Specifically, the fear of what we might hear. Because sometimes we already know what God is asking of us, and we're not sure we're ready to do it. We're afraid the answer will be too costly, too hard, too different from what we had planned. And so we stay busy, we stay loud, we stay distracted. Because if we never get quiet enough to hear, we never have to respond. But here's the thing about God. He is not in the business of asking us to do things that will destroy us. Hard things, yes. Things that stretch us beyond what feels comfortable, absolutely. But He leads with wisdom and compassion and a knowledge of your full story that you don't even fully have yourself. You can trust what He says, even when it's not what you expected. The third blocker is self-sufficiency. When we believe we can figure it out on our own, when we come to our quiet time with a heart full of our own conclusions and just looking for confirmation of what we've already decided, we're not really listening. We're auditioning God for the role of rubber stamp. Real listening requires real openness. It requires coming to the stillness with your hands open rather than clenched. It requires the genuine willingness to hear something you weren't expecting and to let it actually change you. That is the posture that makes stillness transformative. Not just quiet, but truly open. Not just present, but genuinely receptive. Part 5. Practicing stillness. I want to spend some time with you now. Just practicing what it feels like to truly be still. We're going to do this together. And I want you to bring your full self to this. Not just your physical presence, but your attention, your heart, your willingness to be here. Find a position that is comfortable for you. Seated or lying down, it doesn't matter. If your eyes are open, let your gaze soften and unfocus. If they're closed, let them stay closed. Let your body become heavy. Let the weight of you sink into wherever you are resting. Begin by focusing on your breath, not trying to change it, just noticing it. The cool air coming in, the gentle warmth going out, the rhythm that has been keeping you alive without any effort on your part. Your body has been breathing for you this whole time, every night while you slept. Every moment you were too distracted to notice, without any management from you. Let that be a reminder right now that you are being sustained, held, carried, even when you forget to pay attention. Breathe in slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold for just a moment. And release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again. Breathe in. Feel your chest and belly rise. Feel the space inside you expand. And breathe out, slowly, fully, like you're releasing something you've been clutching too tightly. Now I want you to think about what you brought with you today. What worries came in the door with you when you sat down? What fears have been following you around this week? What heavy things are sitting somewhere in your chest or your stomach or the back of your mind? I'm not asking you to solve them. I'm just asking you to acknowledge them. Name them quietly in your own mind. This is what I've been carrying. This is what's been weighing on me. This is what I haven't known what to do with. And now, imagine yourself setting it down, just for right now. Just for these few minutes, not abandoning it, not denying it exists, but physically, mentally, emotionally, setting it on the floor in front of you and uncurling your fingers from around it. You are not those problems. You are not your fears. You are not your unanswered questions. You are a person who is loved, who is seen, who is being led by a hand that knows exactly where you are and where you're going, even when you don't. Let that sink in for a moment. You are known, fully, completely, without condition. There is nothing you have done that changes that. Nothing you could do. Nothing that has happened to you. Nothing that might still come. You are known and you are loved, and that is the ground beneath everything else. Breathe that in and breathe it out. Part 6. When stillness feels impossible. I want to be honest with you for a moment. For some of you, stillness doesn't feel peaceful. It feels threatening. Maybe every time you try to get quiet, your thoughts race faster instead of slower. Maybe the silence feels suffocating rather than sacred. Maybe when you stop moving, the grief or the anxiety or the loneliness that you've been out running catches up to you. And it's overwhelming. If that's you, I see you. And I want you to know that what you're experiencing is real, and it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Stillness is a practice, which means it is something that develops over time, with intentionality and patience and compassion toward yourself in the process. You are not expected to master it on your first try, or your 100th try. There is no grade. There is no test. There is only the daily, faithful act of showing up, of creating space, of trying again. And in the moments when stillness feels impossible, when your mind is too loud and your heart is too heavy and you don't know how to get there, sometimes the most honest prayer you can pray is simply, "Help. I don't know how to do this. I need you to meet me here." That is enough. That vulnerability, that raw honesty, that turning toward rather than away, that is stillness of its own kind. That is a heart that is open. You don't need perfect conditions to connect with God. You don't need a quiet room with candles and no distractions. You don't need to have your emotions sorted out beforehand. You don't need to arrive already feeling peaceful in order to leave peaceful. You can come exactly as you are, messy and uncertain and undone. You can bring all of it, the doubt, the grief, the anger, the confusion, the not knowing. You can lay it all out and say, here, this is where I am. And trust that where you are is exactly where you're allowed to begin. There is a kindness in stillness that has nothing to do with performance. It is simply presence, simply turning the face of your heart toward the one who is already turned toward you. And in that turning, something shifts, even when you don't feel it in the moment. Even when you get up from your quiet time, and nothing looks different from the outside. The shift is happening, slowly, quietly, in the places you can't see yet. Trust the process. Trust the presence. Keep showing up. Part 7. What you do with what you hear. Let's talk about what comes after the stillness, because the point of hearing is responding. The point of receiving is carrying it forward into your actual life. Stillness that doesn't lead to any kind of movement is beautiful, but it's incomplete. When God speaks to you in the quiet, when something lands in your spirit with that sense of, this is real, this is true, this is for me, the natural next question is, what do I do with it? And the answer is almost always simpler than we make it. Sometimes what you heard calls you to action, a step you need to take, a conversation you've been avoiding, a door you need to walk toward, or a door you need to close, a habit you need to release, a relationship you need to repair. When you hear something that requires action, the response is simply to take the next step, not all the steps, not to have the whole plan figured out, just the next one, the one right in front of you. Sometimes what you heard calls you to rest, to receive, to stop striving and trust that what's being built in you during this quiet season is just as real and just as valuable as what's visible on the outside. If what came to you in the stillness was peace, receive it. If it was comfort, let it comfort you. If it was hope, let it grow. And sometimes what you heard calls you to wait, which is its own kind of active posture. Waiting with expectation is different from waiting with despair. When you know that what's coming is coming, when you trust the timeline, even when you don't understand it, waiting becomes an act of faith rather than a passive resignation. Whatever it is that came to you today, I want to encourage you to write it down. Don't let it evaporate in the rush of the day that comes after. Take a few minutes after this is over to capture whatever words, images, impressions, or feelings surfaced. Sometimes the most powerful revelations are the ones that feel so obvious in the moment that we're sure we won't forget them. And then we do. Honor what you received by preserving it. And then, take one small step in its direction. Just one, that's all. One small, faithful, concrete step. That is how stillness becomes transformation. Not in the dramatic moment of hearing, but in the quiet, steady, daily choosing to live in the direction of what you know. Part 8. Returning to stillness again and again. The greatest gift you can give yourself in this season, and really in every season, is the discipline of returning. Returning to stillness. Returning to the quiet. Returning to the practice of creating space, of tuning in, of showing up with an open heart. I say discipline because it is exactly that. Life will not clear a path for your stillness. No one is going to guard your quiet time for you. The to-do list will never be fully done. The needs around you will never fully subside. The world will not pause to give you permission to rest. You have to take it, decide it, protect it. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be elaborate. 5 minutes in the morning before you pick up your phone. A few deep breaths before you respond to the email that's triggering you. A quiet moment in the car before you go into the house after a hard day. A brief prayer before a big meeting. A walk where you leave your earbuds out and let your thoughts settle. These small pockets of stillness, practiced consistently, they add up. They build a life that is rooted rather than reactive, grounded rather than just surviving. They create a person who moves through the world with a kind of steadiness that isn't their own, that comes from something deeper, something sourced in connection to the one who is steady when nothing else is. That is the life available to you. Not a life without difficulty. Not a life without confusion or pain or seasons of not knowing, but a life where even in the difficulty you are not alone. A life where even in the confusion there is a voice that cuts through when you create space for it. A life where even in the pain there is a presence that holds you so completely that you can exhale. That life begins in the stillness. It begins right here, right now. In the choice you're making in this moment to slow down and listen and open yourself to something greater than your own understanding. Part 9. A personal word for you. Before we close, I want to speak directly to you. Not you as a general listener, but you, the specific person who is hearing this right now. You didn't stumble across this by accident. You are here because something in you is reaching. Something in you is hungry for more than the noise can give you. Something in you already knows that what you're looking for isn't in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next milestone. Something in you is leaning toward the deeper thing. Honor that reaching. Don't dismiss it. Don't numb it back into silence with distraction. Let it lead you somewhere real. Whatever season you're in right now, whether it looks like abundance or scarcity, clarity or confusion, forward momentum or complete standstill, you are not outside the reach of the voice that speaks in stillness. You are not too far gone, too messed up, too complicated, too inconsistent in your faith to hear. None of that is the criteria. The criteria is simply that you're willing to stop, to breathe, to open up, to say, here I am, I'm listening. And it's okay if you don't hear anything specific today. It's okay if today felt like practice more than revelation. That is not failure. That is faithfulness. And faithfulness, over time, builds something that a single dramatic moment never could. Keep coming back to the stillness. Keep making room. Keep showing up with your honest, imperfect, reaching heart. The voice is there. It has always been there. And the more space you create, the more clearly you will begin to recognize it, not as something foreign or far away, but as something deeply familiar, like a voice you've always known, like the sound of home. Take one final deep breath with me. In, slowly. Let it fill every part of you. And out. Fully. Releasing whatever you're ready to release. You have done something important today. You have stopped. You have been present. You have created space. And that space, however small, however imperfect, is sacred. It matters. It counts. Carry the quiet with you as you go back into your day. Not as a performance, not as something you have to maintain or explain, just as a soft interior awareness that underneath all the noise, there is a ground. There is a presence. There is a voice. And when things get loud again, and they will remember that you know how to find your way back. You know what it feels like to be still. You know what it feels like to listen. And you can return there again and again, as many times as you need to. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not without direction, without purpose, without a hand that is guiding you. Even now, especially now, God is speaking through the stillness. All you have to do is listen. Take care of yourself. You are deeply, unconditionally loved.